what you think and what you feel, those are the choices that you're making moment to moment.
Yes.
Now, this whole seminar is about how do you want to feel? Do you want to let the gift in right now or not? If you let the gift in, you have to just kind of surrender to that joy and that gratitude and the energy that's coming to you. And as you do it more, you start living in that vibration all the time.
Today I have here with me Richard Gordon, the founder and author of Quantum Touch. And I'm really happy because I'm very grateful to him, to his work and his experiences he did. That's something that inspires me. I have a couple of questions. I would have a lot of questions, but I need to select some questions to ask him. So, hi, Richard. How are you doing?
It's great to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
That's my pleasure, Richard. Finally, I met you. Hopefully, I'll meet you one day in person.
I hope soon.
Yes. All right. So, Richard, I have a question. I always wanted to ask you about this. Today, we're going to talk about your new breakthrough, becoming more. But I want to ask you something before. How did you start this work from scratch? You didn't have this book written, Quantum Touch, yet. You did a lot, but you started when there's no internet so strong like today, no social media. How was this approach to people? How was this experience?
Well, you have to understand back in about the early 70s, my health was getting bad. So I went to a doctor and he said, well, yeah, you got a lot of problems, but let's wait till you get worse and then I can give you some medicine. So I thought that's the stupidest advice I had ever received. So I went to a holistic health school and I learned about polarity therapy. I invented the polarity circle, which is mind-blowingly powerful. And that was my first breakthrough. And then a few months before that book came out in 1978, my first book, I was at a seminar with this man, Robert Rasmussen, and he showed us how to start moving the energy and that we could align bones and stuff. And I apprenticed with him and took over in his retirement. And then I just started teaching. My first two workshops had 4 people. So I just started by just talking it up and people wanted to take the workshop. Within about 2 years, I was teaching like close to 100 people at a time and showing them how to do the energy. And once I took over in his retirement, I gave it the name Quantum Touch because I took away most of what he had taught because it was a lot of superstitious or ego or whatever issues. And I evolved it and made it really simple and straightforward so ordinary people could use it immediately. So that was the evolution. And then once I got some traction, we started building an online presence and Jennifer took over running the company. And then I could just dedicate myself to making discoveries. But as I hinted to, that was the polarity therapy was the first of 7 breakthroughs that I've had in this work. And what we'll talk about today, of course, will be, maybe we'll touch on the others, but the 7th breakthrough is astounding to me. I never imagined we could do these things. So I'm really excited about that.
But the breakthrough, the Quantum Touch 2.0 was already something very special. I was very impacted by this book because you had this concept of apps. I love it. You say that you can have some apps and you can run energy. For example, if someone is singing, on stage, you run energy to this person and we can see the improvement, the voice, the quality, and how this impacts people. And with athletes, high performance athletes, working out, and a lot of other things you call apps, and you use this powerful energy of the heart energy. This is something already another stage, right?
Here's the thing. When I had worked with Quantum Touch and written the Quantum Touch book, it took me over 30 years to find the level 2 Quantum Touch.
Oh, really?
I was so frustrated because I wanted to go further with it, but I didn't know how to. And then the way that happened was I was hanging out with my friend Brian, and he said, "Will you align my hips again?" And I said, "Sure." And so I was going to put my hands on his hips. He said, "I bet you can do that without touching." I said, "Really?" He said, "Sure, I bet you can." So, okay, let me try. And instantly his hips had aligned. And that got me started building the whole level 2 material. Then one of my students told me about the sphenoid bone behind the nose and eyes. And if I meditated on that, I could instantly untwist the hips and the cranial bone simultaneously. And that opened up for the secret nature of matter. And then I could start testing objects to see if they could hold energy, intention, and consciousness. And that led to a whole series of other discoveries. And now the work is taking it to a whole other dimension that's going to change people's lives more dramatically than anything I've done before.
Yes, that's true. That's what made me to be very enthusiastic about quantum touch, because this doing things about touching at that time I couldn't imagine. If I was in the early 90s, someone told me this kind of thing, I would say, no, this guy is crazy. Which kind of drug this guy taking? That's what I would think.
Exactly. Well, I can tell you the drugs I've taken, but they're not really helpful to the conversation.
Yes. All right. So since then, you developed there's Quantum Touch, the basic workshop, and there's 2.0, and then what is the next one?
Well, the next one that I developed was the self-created health.
Yes.
Teaching people how to find and release the emotional causes. And not only do people get better, but they're grateful that they had had the condition, because the body has the ability to be sick, not as a dysfunction, but as a communication from their higher self. And what we find is there's enormous amounts of trapped pain, anger, hurt, shame, guilt, fear, whatever is trapped in those parts of the body. When a person releases it and they've gone through the self-forgiveness process, self-forgiveness, they can become intensely grateful that they even had a condition, because the body has the ability to be sick, not as a flaw, but as a communication on how they had stopped loving. And to get back to the love was so much more valuable than the condition had caused suffering. And that was my fourth breakthrough, was the self-created health.
Yes, and they supercharging also, right?
Well, the supercharging was someone else.
Yes.
Who would come in, and she could see energy clearly. I test people to see if they can really see energy. And the way I tested her, I'm running energy into her knee, and she's saying, "Oh, you're working on the mitochondria and you're working on the subatomic." And she's telling me all this crazy stuff. And I don't believe anything, because I'm a skeptic, me of all people. So I test her. And the way I test her was on my next breath, I started vortexing the energy. So I'm spiraling it. And she says within half a second, "Oh my God, I've never seen energy spin before." And I thought, okay, I guess you can see. I should have listened more carefully when she was telling me what the energy was doing. But this is a very powerful way we can work. So the emotional, what I saw was sometimes I was helping heal the condition, helping it heal itself, but the person would still have the condition and they weren't getting any better in time. Yes, the pain would go down, but the condition still remained. So when I found out how to get to the emotional causes, then it didn't come back. And that was the deeper level. And it was my frustration, because I don't want to just be the one to fix somebody. I want them to fix themselves.
Yeah.
So that led to the self-created health. And then after that was the secret nature of matter, discovering an empirical way of exploring the intersection of matter and consciousness, where we could do actual experimentation, empirical experiments, whether we could align somebody or not. That was the yes or no answer. So we could test water and feathers and objects and all kinds of things. And then after that, I discovered a way to hack the law of attraction. And that was my sixth breakthrough, was hacking the law of attraction. And now the seventh.
Yes. Just a little comment about the secret nature of matter. I'm reading this book and finishing. It is amazing, the level of detail of your experiences. You're trying with a lot of things.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And it tells like this sense of this. It shows how you're investigating and taking this seriously, and you understand why you had so many breakthroughs, because you're trying and trying and trying. And Manifest Miracles was, the story is very interesting. Hawking the Law of Attraction is, you tell in the book what happens, how
Yes.
this came to you, all of this. And now let's talk about the newest breakthrough that came so quick after Manifest Miracles. We're still digesting Manifest Miracles.
To me, it felt like it took a really long time. So 14 years ago, that's when this process started. That's how quickly I figured it out. It took me 14 years. All right. So that's it's immediate from your point of view, but not from me. So 14 years ago, I was in a cafe with my friend Carolyn. And Carolyn, we're just chatting about life. And she said she never had to study in college. And she always got straight A's because she has a photographic memory. And I said, well, I had to study really hard. I was never a great student because I don't remember things very well. I see integration and ideas, how they fit together, but I don't remember the words, like the terms they want on the test very easily. And I said, hey, why don't you give me your photographic memory? And she said, well, how do I do that? I said, I don't know, just grab your memory and put it inside my head. Well, I'm just playing. I don't expect anything to happen. And nothing happened. She's kind of miming and she's putting her hands over my head. And I don't know. But when I went to bed that night, before I got to sleep, I like to lay on my back for about 10 minutes to get myself tired enough. Then I lay on my side and go to sleep. So as I'm laying there, I think about a friend I hadn't seen in years. And all of a sudden, there's his face right in front of me, as if it was printed in the air. And I see his name spelled in gold letters under his face. And I'm thinking, this is not a normal visualization. This is absolutely crystal clear. I can read the letters forward. I can read the letters backwards. They're not moving. That's fascinating. Then I thought of another friend. There she is, name spelled in gold letters. Third friend, name spelled in gold letters. And while I'm having the thought, wow, this is really fun, my whole body was racked in fear. And I had so much adrenaline, it took me like an hour to fall asleep. I was so nervous. My whole body was just totally drenched in fear. So when I saw Carolyn a couple days later, I said, Carolyn, when you think of friends you hadn't seen in a long time, do you suddenly see their face right in front of you with the name spelled in gold letters? This isn't a question I ask people. And she said, how did you know? She said, I'm like a machine. It happens every time. I said, you carry a lot of fear? She said, you have no idea how much fear I carry. So I knew we could share gifts. I was certain about that. It couldn't be a coincidence. But how do we do it effectively? I couldn't figure it out. And so I tried for years. And 3 years ago, I was in Tulum, Mexico for 6 months. And I was trying to figure it out. I was doing hours and hours of experiments with people, and I couldn't figure it out. Yes, this thing came to me so quickly, didn't it? And then about 3.5, 4 months ago, I figured it out. And the way you see, we can share states of consciousness with each other directly, but we don't have words for it because somebody else's state of consciousness isn't a verbal kind of thing. It's an experience. And so at one of the points when I figured it out, I have a friend here who's a really brilliant distant healer. So I showed him how to run the energy and I showed him how to do the heart work. And then I showed him about the spiritual anatomy that I'll teach in my workshop. And I was at this party for about 2.5 hours and I was feeling kind of antisocial, like, I don't know if I really want to be here. And, I not really connecting to the people and I'm kind of feeling tired. Maybe I should just go. And then I run into Gil and I said, hey, why don't you send me, some of your healing energy? And I showed him how about the spiritual anatomy. And what it felt like was, oh my God, I felt like I just had 3 grams of mushrooms. I was suddenly high and I'm slapping his shoulder going, what the heck did you do to me, man? And I'm feeling very social, outgoing, and my energy came back. I'm dancing, I'm having a great time. And then I realized, oh my God, this is how we do it. And we're able. So what is it that we're sharing? See, I knew we could share gifts, but what is more important than that? You see, the understanding of what this workshop is going to be continues to evolve almost daily for me, because I still got another 3-4 months before the workshop happens to have more insight. I could teach it today. It would be fantastic. But I'm excited that I'm having so many more insights before the thing even begins. And what I'm coming to understand. Well, let me tell you one more story. The woman who helped me find this place, I'm living in Mexico now again. And the woman who helped me find this place, she confided in me after I signed the contract, the lease on it. She said that she's always been really nervous all her life, just scared. Now, my old approach would have been, well, did you learn that from mom or dad? Did you, how do we release the hurt, anger, the shame, the guilt, the fears, whatever is holding it in place? How do we forgive ourselves for carrying it all this extra time? How do we process that out? How do we build a new identity? How do we find a new space? Okay, that's where I would have gone with it. But maybe she's willing to let the past go. Maybe she's ready now to let the past be done. So I said, can I give you a gift? And she said, sure. So I'm going to meditate for like 30 seconds. And I meditate in a special way that I'll be teaching. And I say, okay, did you feel anything? Now, she has no background in energy healing or any of the stuff. She says, yeah, I'm feeling a lot. Well, what are you feeling? Well, I'm feeling all this tingling around my face and my neck and my chest. And I said, well, if I gave you a box of chocolate and you didn't open the box, was it a gift? No. Well, if you take one bite and throw the box away, did you receive it? Not really. What you'd have to do is you'd have to bite every piece and savor it. So I said, you can feel this now, can't you? She says, yeah. I said, well, why don't you take 20 or 30 seconds and let yourself feel it more deeply? So she does. And then I say, now, what I want you to do is 20 or 40 or 50 times a day. I just want to let yourself feel this. There's no work. She could be driving, she could be walking, she could be at the bank, she could be writing a contract. It doesn't matter, because she can just let herself feel. It's not intellectual, so it doesn't interfere with your life. I see her about 5 or 6 days later. I said, how are you feeling? She says, I'm hardly nervous anymore. And I'm thinking, oh my God. But what I'm discovering now, at first I thought it was about sharing the gifts, but let's consider something much more profound and how it's affecting my life. Everybody has issues with negative ego. And in self-created health, I talk about negative ego issues. There's really only 2 issues, but there's a lot of variation on how they go. The self-pity and the self-importance.
Yes.
So the self-pity comes in 2 major flavors. The first is overt, victim-y, I can't ever get anything done. Nobody likes me. And, it's that whiny energy. And you see them coming from a mile away. Here, it's $5, go away, right? It's just, get away from me. I don't want that self-pity around me. But the other kind of self-pity is much more destructive, because you can avoid the first kind by just saying, look, I don't want to play. Here's a few bucks, go away. The second kind is the martyr. And there's different qualities to martyrhood: unappreciated, misunderstood, unfairly treated, innocent of wrongdoing, angry at God, hopeless, helpless. These are the vibrations of the pain that people carry. And everybody carries these pains. It's not like you're the only one. Everybody carries these pains. So then there's the self-importance. I'm the most important person in the world, but they're not treating me good enough. That's kind of a Donald Trump line. But what you see is the self-pity and self-importance. Well, guess what? The real thing that's happening with this new technique is it's putting me at a much higher percentage in my life into states of intense joy, gratitude, love, happiness. Now, there's no temptation to go into the negative ego. Why would I want to find suffering if I'm feeling joyful? You can't inhabit, yes, you can't inhabit pain and suffering if you're feeling joy and gratitude. You can't be outdoors if you're indoors. It doesn't happen. And there's no reason to feel better than other people because you're feeling good. And then there's something else even more interesting, which is that in my life, I've often had the idea, well, the world isn't seeing my work and I really want to get it out there on a very large scale. And I don't know how to do that. And okay, here's this pain and suffering inside me. But what I'm doing now is I've been sharing love and energetics with other people. And it's just putting me into these deeper states of joy and gratitude. And what's happening now is I'm feeling really good. And I'm thinking, well, how will I get my work out there? Well, here's a new thought. What if you just trust life? What if you just trust the universe that if I'm feeling really good, opportunities will open up and I don't have to control, dominate, make it happen, manipulate, try to push something through. I can just live my life, enjoy, and somehow something magnificent is going to happen. Maybe I'm talking to you, right? Something is going to happen that's going to trigger this. So consider this. We know about the 7 major chakras of the body. And if you think of the chakras, not just as energy centers, but areas that have meaning. So the first chakra is like safety and security, but there's also love in safety and security. So perhaps the parents are providing safety and security and a good roof and money and food for the children. That's a way of loving through first chakra love. And then there's second chakra, pleasure and creativity and comfort and all that sexual enjoyment, all those other ways of sharing love is the second chakra. Well, the Eskimos and the third chakra, emotional expression and the heart and the love and the communication, love through communication or wisdom or connection to source and so forth, the spiritual connections. Now, they say the Eskimos had, 50 odd words for snow. How many words are there for love? Maybe there are hundreds or thousands of flavors of love, just to put a picture on it. Now, I'm thinking that as I'm receiving love from more and more people using this technique, it's affecting me in ways, but just like if you eat a delicious soup, you can't discern all the ingredients in the soup. I don't have words for what I'm experiencing. But what I'm doing is I'm receiving deeper and deeper kinds of love and trust and openness and allowing this. And so I made a list of like 60 different gifts we can share with each other. And that's going to happen at my new seminar. But what we're going to do is I wish I could figure out a way to do this online, but there's no proper way. So I'm going to be teaching it in Cancun, Mexico, at a gorgeous resort where people can just forget about their lives, spend a few days, and just be totally transformed. And one of the beauties about this is that once it's implanted, even if you're not ready to receive it now, it's still there. So what will happen to me, I had about a month where I was having trouble sleeping. It got really hot here. I was dehydrated. I was having foot and leg cramps during the night. I wasn't sleeping much. And I was having problems with parasites and not sleeping. And my cat was waking me up. So I went about a month without sleeping well. And this was really valuable because you know how it is when you're kind of cranky and you didn't get enough sleep and your body's not feeling good. So I'd be kind of starting my day grinding and not feeling like I'm having a good day. And then for no reason during the day, I would pop into these blissful, joyous, grateful states of consciousness. I just put something in the wastebasket and all of a sudden I'm overwhelmed with gratitude.
Oh, really? Oh,
Well,
that's
I turn on the tap and all of a sudden I'm just flushed with like incredible levels of joy because I've tapped in on these vibrations and I've been affected by other people's love. Maybe my friend Brian, who shared with me his energy today, is able to, well, I know he does. He receives love from his wife and is transformed by her love in a way I'm not familiar with. But I received it today. Now, when I received it, I wasn't in a particularly good mood. And I felt like I'm only getting 1 or 2% of it. Doesn't matter. It's still there. And now I can feel it more strongly because I'm ready to receive it. So when people attend this, even if your life only changes 3 degrees, that a ship changing 3 degrees goes to another continent. And then I've even figured out a way that the seminar is going to continue for a couple months after the seminar is over, because I'm going to have people taking photographs of the people they were connected with most deeply at the seminar. And they'll spend 5 minutes a day sending those people the gifts. And they're going to continue receiving for months after the seminar is over. So this is the most life-changing thing I've ever encountered, because it's really about happiness. And a spiritual teacher I worked with for 15 years said, they say, what's the point of living? What's the point of having these lifetimes? And they said, there's two primary focuses for everybody: learning how to consciously create fun and learning how to consciously create reality. Well, by being in a state of joy, everything becomes fun.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I mean, you go to the market to pick something up, it was fun. But if you're suffering, going to the market's a drudgery. It's painful. I'm in line instead of just feeling the joy of life and sending love. And the other thing is consciously creating reality. Well, guess what? I wrote a book called Hacking the Law of Attraction, about how to use a different metaphysics to allow manifestation much more easily and fluidly. Well, when you're having fun, you're not contradicted within yourself. And then there's no pushback against that manifestation, and allowing that manifestation to love you, which is one of the great secrets in that book, is how you receive from a possible future. Well, if you're not fighting yourself, you don't have to try to get to a space of good feeling. You're already there. And so what I'm thrilled about in this new workshop, it's going to have probably about 1/5 the content of my other workshops, but it's going to be totally experiential, and everybody's going to take their new self with them. I have so many things we're going to play with and work with, but to be able to receive and be changed, the definition of being loved is being changed by love. And this whole workshop is about being changed by love. It is exactly what's going to happen to everybody there, even those who are resistant. Even if somebody manages to maintain self-pity throughout the entire workshop, it doesn't matter. They still received it. And when they're ready to just pop out, they're going to find they are more, because it's already affecting them. But that's not going to happen, because people are going to start to feel it. And when you feel it, you just ride the wave. Like, here's a good feeling. Oh, that feels good. Okay, let me melt into it. So we'll have times where we'll be giving, and times where we'll be receiving, and times where we'll just kind of like spend 5 minutes just letting yourself melt into these new states. We're not going to do 30-minute meditation. We'll do 3-5 minutes, something like that, to just let it in more deeply and be changed by the love.
But I'd like to say something that it is very interesting what you said about this. How I take what you told me, that you've been receiving love from people. You've been working for decades with this,
Yeah.
right? And a lot of people are grateful for you. I know these people in person, people who are grateful, have this grateful feeling towards you.
Mm-hmm.
So in life, it is like a law, a universal law. What you give, we receive, right? You're giving this information, giving this positiveness, these techniques, this tool for the life, and are receiving this back. And you are being touched by this, like it is intense now, right? And the other thing, so I want to say something else, another thing, but the conclusion about this is that what you're describing, this event in Cancun, can be a movement. These people be entangled, giving and receiving love, and we can create a network and create a real movement.
This is exactly what I'm intending. And we'll start with this core group who chooses to come, and we'll be pathfinders. We'll create a movement, and it will continue to grow. But there's one other thing, and this is theoretical right now. And I'm usually right when I come up with something like this, but I don't know it to be true yet. So I'm just going to hold it theoretically. The Indian yogis were known to have certain powers. Some of them will melt, like the Buddhists will melt snow around their body with the tumo breathing. But the yogis were known to be able to like be all-knowing, or to stop their heart, or to be able to teleport, or be able to not need food, and so forth. There's many different what they call siddhis, siddhis, the yogic powers. So I thought about this a lot, and I'm thinking, well, what did the yogis do? Well, they focused with such intensity, and they gave up all these worldly things, and they spent countless hours meditating and doing asanas and pranayamas and breathing and all this. Why? It wasn't because the breathing was necessary. You see the enlightened ones, and they're not doing anything special. They're just sitting there in bliss or whatever. They can get into samadhi states, but they're not doing any exercise. They're not stretching. No, the purpose of all the yogic exercises was to control the ego.
Yes.
Now, guess what? This workshop is an antidote to negative ego. So I suspect, and I'm usually right, but I'm not, I have to test it, but I suspect some people are going to start discovering they have yogic siddhis. They will spontaneously be able to like be all-knowing, or be able to maybe bilocate or teleport, or have knowledge of the future, or whatever it is that they're wanting and feeling, or just being able to bring their love to a place with greater power and dimensions than ever before. But I suspect that what this workshop really, I called it Becoming More, but I think that's like not really beginning to encompass it. This is healing negative ego. It is accessing dimensions of love. It's healing ourselves on a soul spiritual level, and it's allowing ourselves to fulfill our chosen destinies in a way that I hadn't really thought was possible. So while I first thought it was, oh, I'll be sharing the gifts and I'll be able to have a photographic memory or something like that. No, it's much more significant than that. Yes, we will share. Like if somebody has incredible musical talent and somebody wants to receive musical talent, here, share it with me. Okay, and maybe we'll be able to download more quickly. And another thing about the download I want to say is sometimes you only feel like you're able to download 2 or 3% of it. Fair enough. Well, that would take the ship in a whole different direction. But maybe next week it'll have 5%. And then maybe next month I'll be 7% or 9%. And you don't have to get there all at once. You can gradually melt into these better spaces, these more joyous spaces. And that's another part of the delight of this workshop, is that we're giving people the space to make these changes. And they'll do it at their own pace, but kind of like the analogy of the soup. You know, you taste the soup and it's delicious, but you don't know what's in it. Does it have lemongrass? Does it have cinnamon? I don't know. That's sort of how the energy feels. It just feels like something good. I can't define it. And with like, 50 or 100 people, whatever, 30 people, whatever shows up at this weekend in Mexico we're going to put on, that's going to be perfect, because everybody's going to have so much time to share everything with each other. We're going to work with the inner child, the adolescent, the infant. We're going to be sending love all through. I think it's going to be the most profound shift, and people aren't going to have to take notes. You don't have to write anything down, because it's experiential and you take it with you.
Yes, I was very curious about what, because you say like Quantum Touch 2.0, for example, it is unlimited. Manifesting Miracles Unlimited. So there's no limit for what you can expect from this. And my question for you, I'm very interested in music. I play the piano.
Yeah, me too.
By the way, I've been doing, you too, you said?
Well, I learned,
Nice.
last 3-4 years, I've been learning how to play keyboard. I don't have any lessons. I just I discover where, all the majors, minor 6, minor 6, augmented, just kind of learning where they all are. And then I start composing and coming up with pieces that I really like.
Yeah, but me as an interpreter, I've been running energy and make experiences with people. It's very interesting, the results. And I was wondering if I can take some skills from some people. That's what I'm interested in. But now you're talking about another level. It is something very different, what you're saying, like this movement. And one more thing, Richard, I'd like to say, it is about you said allowance. It is like where people the easiest way is surrendering to negativeness. It is very easy, right? It's
Yeah.
like grass in a field. So when you put some effort and intent, you can do something else. And this, what you say, all of that, in summary, would be like surrendering to gratefulness, the gratefulness
It's an
and
automatic process. Yeah,
surrender.
you end up surrendering to your joy, to your gratitude, to the love that you feel, and you realize that this is your natural state. Now, maybe you think you got it from somebody else, but it takes you home inside yourself, because when you feel joyful, grateful, and happy, you just feel comfortable. You feel natural inside yourself, and you have more to give other people, and you're more able to receive from them. If human beings could step outside of their pain. Oh, there's one other thing that just hit me today. When I was starting out this morning, I wasn't in a good mood. And so I started thinking about it. Okay, what am I feeling? What am I really feeling? And I felt like I'm just in my pain body. There's no thought. It's not like I'm unappreciated or unfairly treated. None of that. I'm just not feeling happy or good inside my body. It just feels, I feel bad, but there's no word for it. Just grinding. And so I thought that's really fascinating, because what this work does is it takes me out of my pain body and I get into my joy body, if I call it that, or whatever we're gonna come up with new words for this as we go along.
Yeah.
And it's still fairly new to me to be able to do all this. But I realized that the more I take care of myself physically, and I do a lot to take care of myself physically, but the more I take care of myself physically, the easier it is to be in this joy body, as I'll use that term again. And so it really makes sense that we can access these states. And I think I'll probably spend maybe 15 or 20 minutes talking about health and, and some other things to kind of help us get on the highest level of vibration physically. There's a few things you definitely don't want to be doing, and some things that definitely do want to do, and let's kind of cover them briefly. But I think it's so important that we heal the ego,
Yes.
that we connect to the depths of our joy, that we are, you see, yes, a lot of people have been appreciative of my work for a long time, but I didn't feel it because I'm not in touch with them and I'm not experiencing it. And I mean, there's tens of thousands of stories of people using my work, and I have no idea what happened. I don't
But
hear about it.
what is the difference now? What happened that you are connected to all of these feelings?
Yes, because I show people how to send love energetically with quantum touch, and where to send it in spiritual anatomy. And then while it's happening, I know how to receive it. These are the elements that make it work. And then I'm also coaching people. Remember how we had in level 2, how we had to, send the energy and essence of it, because we didn't want to, we don't have to do that anymore. We don't have to worry about it. We're just going to go straight and send the gifts, because we don't have to filter it anymore. I've taken it to the next level where we don't have to try to be careful. We just send the love, and it's all filtered for us. It's really, it's all an evolution. I can make this, like, I'm using stuff from level 1 quantum touch, level 2 self-created health, secret nature of matter. I'm using stuff about hacking the law of attraction in this workshop, and all of it is coming together as if it was one piece of one thing, so that we can become more.
And are you planning to write a book about it?
Oh yeah, but I'm just taking notes now because I'm still learning about it, and I think I'll know a lot more after the seminar, and maybe the second and third time I teach it, I'll know even more, and I'll have really incredible stories to tell. And yeah, I'm going to write a book about this for sure. I'm not even sure if we'll still call it Becoming More. It may be a great title.
Yes.
I don't know yet. So this is part of the fun of creating something new, is that I'm changed by my creation more than I had imagined. I'd say my amount of time per day that I'm feeling intense gratitude has probably gone up 5 times, maybe 8 or 10 times, depending on the day. I've had some days where I was just 100% grateful all day. And I've never done that before. I've always I'm very moody. It's kind of like a personality flaw. Half an inch, like the song said, half an inch of water and you think you're going to drown. Like, oh, something bad happened. All of a sudden I'm in this moody thing. So I had a couple of people not keep appointments with me this week. It's fine. I'm just doing great. So if they don't want to respect time and they don't want to respect, okay, it's all right. I can deal with it. It's fine. I can just continue holding my joy. And well, maybe if they want to be friends, that'll be great. But if they don't, there's plenty of people here. It's a lovely community, really sweet place.
Yes.
So
What you said, you say in other interviews I watched, you like to say that this became for years now a second nature for you, right?
yeah,
And then this second nature, it is like, for me, it is like one secret of well-being in the life, have a good life. So whoever is there in this workshop can receive this from you. You can share this skill, right? Of having this as a second nature.
yeah. The thing is that everybody is holding incredible gifts. Everybody has some place within their life where they have freedom, where they're connecting to source, whether they call it that or not. Everybody has something extraordinary to share and to give. And everybody has something that I don't know anything about. They've got places of freedom within themselves, places of joy, places of gratitude, places of love. They got abilities that I don't know anything about. So I'm thrilled to attend my seminar because I'm going to be giving and receiving like everybody else. And I'm just going to be so happy to receive these gifts. And I don't know what is going to be unleashed, whether it'll be like a kind of genius or it's going to be a freedom, or maybe I'll be able to astral project. I have one friend who can go into samadhi states freely. I'm planning to call her soon and say, hey, can you share this with me? And go into oneness with God, Goddess, all that is, and experience the totality of the universe all simultaneously. Maybe I can only let that in by 2%, but isn't that exciting? That if I can open up to 2% more of a samadhi state, there's no harm in being slow.
Yes, of course.
All that matters is the progress. That's all that matters, is that you're open and you're progressing. So there's nothing to fear. This is just going to be fun.
And what is the date of this workshop?
It's October 7 and 8. It's on the website. And it's going to be in Cancun, which is like a real destination place for people.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm probably going to arrive a couple days early and enjoy the swimming pools and the beach and maybe connect with people who also arrive early, and we'll have some fun hanging out. And so it's just going to be a vacation, except you're going to have to you're going to leave your old self behind because you're going to bring the new self home or wherever you choose to go afterwards.
Yes, and there will be this moment of sharing these experiences being shared, different ways of perceiving themselves, and at the end, connections after that. That's very important.
Well, there will be all the connections after it, but I'm going to show how you actually receive the gifts. And you have to choose it. If you don't choose it, you're not really receiving. So you have to consciously open yourself up to receive to actually let in what you received. And it doesn't take but seconds, but you have to choose it. Now, there's something I'm going to say at the workshop, and I'll repeat it again there, but this was really significant to me. 30 years ago, you say, oh, you just got this now, okay? 30 years ago, exactly, 1993, not sure what month, I was at a seminar with a spiritual teacher I had worked with for 15 years who was 100% accurate emotionally. He channeled through a man named Jack Purcell. The name of the being was Lazarus, who had never lived in a time-space reality. And I had private readings and I had tremendous education. I'll call it a metaphysical psychology education for those 15 years where I attended every seminar. So by 1993, the seminar, they were all word of mouth. They never advertised. And I was attending this seminar and the title was Transformation. And I'm looking at my notes, it says Transformation. And I'm sitting in a room with about 1,200 people. And when Lazarus channeled through Jack would have his eyes really tightly closed, and he'd say, yes, and we'd like to say this, and this, and they're talking about all this stuff and looking around the room with his eyes tightly shut and this very unusual accent that's not a known human accent. And then, so I had a line of thought, and I'm looking at the words transformation, and I'm thinking to myself, transformation is not a series of techniques. It's not a meditation. It's not a practice. It's not some kind of final ceremony at the end of the seminar. I thought transformation are the choices and decisions that I can make moment to moment. And Lazarus, talking about this whole thing over here, stops mid-sentence, points at me, look, aiming right at me, and says, that's right, Richard, and then continues the thought. So I'm in 1,200 people. They stop mid-sentence, point at me and say, that's right, Richard. And so I remembered that thought. That became an important thought to me. Transformation is a choice. But what choices am I making? I'm sitting here on the couch, reading something. I'm looking at my phone, scrolling. What choices am I making? I didn't really get what the choices was until now. 30 years later, I'm a little slow sometimes. What's the choice? The choice is, how do I want to feel? The choice is, what am I going to think about? What you think and what you feel, those are the choices that you're making moment to moment.
Yes.
Now, this whole seminar is about, how do you want to feel? Do you want to let the gift in right now or not? If you let the gift in, you have to just kind of surrender to that joy and that gratitude and the energy that's coming to you. And as you do it more, you start living in that vibration all the time. And then you don't have to push and try to make things happen, because law of attraction, you're not carrying that pain vibration to attract more pain. Now, maybe you've got 30, 40, 60 years of backlog of beliefs and attitudes and thoughts and feelings and choices, decisions that have created this train going down the track of suffering. All right. And maybe it's not going to turn around on a dime, but as you continue holding the energy, opportunities, options will open up more and more as you hold the space. And then you start realizing what we call pronoia. There's paranoia, the world is against me. Pronoia is the universe is looking out on my behalf.
That's good.
And I can relax behind it. It's conspiring for my joy. Pronoia. And so what this seminar is, it's making the paradigm shift to realize that we're loved and the universe is looking out for us. But we do it by shifting our internal well-being so completely. And one of the things I'm thinking about accessing more, I've slowed the aging process down, but I think we can reverse it deeply and profoundly. I mean, I'm stronger now than I was in my 20s, and I've got no joint issues, and I'm on no medications, and I can sprint down the street, as easily as I ever could. But it's hard out here in cobblestones, but that's another story. So, but I think that we can do more, and that's one of the things yogis could do, is maintain eternal youth. But there's a caveat to that, and that is you really have to want to be here. And as the world has been getting crazier and crazier, sometimes I've been wondering, am I really committed to this? But as I'm now finding these bliss states, I think I can just hang out with my friends and we can create a good world, however crazy the outside gets.
Yeah. Yes. And when I started experimenting the Quantum Touch 2.0, Quantum Touch
Mhm.
basic level and 2.0, I realized that this was a tool to be present. And now listen to what you're saying, that it seems that it is a tool to where being anchored in the present moment, it is like what it is like just one stage of that. It is beyond that. It is this brings us to the present moment. There is no space to ego, and you are open to something higher. It is something transcendental, right?
Exactly.
Yes.
I'm so looking forward to receiving your gifts.
You receiving
Yeah.
mine? No,
Yes.
I want to receive yours.
Well, you will, but I'm looking forward to receiving yours because everybody is carrying these unique flavors of love. And you're a very sincere person. It shows through. And so that quality of love and sincerity that you bring is going to be something that I'm going to get to incorporate. I went, oh, that's going to be so much fun to bring in another. But what's going to happen when we got 30 or 100 people who are all sharing the totality? Like all the major flavors of love are going to be there, represented in ways that we don't have no words for these things. And you won't have a word when you feel it either. It just feels good. So you just let in the good feeling. And you don't have to sort out, well, which person gave me that one? I don't know. It just feels good. And as you receive it, you become transformed. And then your reality becomes transformed because the reality is a mirror of the thoughts, feelings, choices, decisions, the beliefs, attitudes, and all the rest. And as your beliefs and attitudes shift and your thoughts change, you have to attract a different reality. But you don't even have to try, because once you're holding these energies fluidly and naturally, the reality has to bend and turn and reveal gifts. And the reality will start gifting you in ways that you don't understand or imagine. And by the way, the functional definition of a miracle is when something happens that far exceeds your expectations.
Yes, I like it. Yes.
Yes.
When something unexpected happens, you say simply that, right? Something unexpected happens. It is really good. So again, I'll put the information about this workshop on the description of the video. So again, it is during October. Which days again? 2 days,
I
you
think,
said, right?
I think it's 7th and 8th or 8th and 9th, but you'll put the information down. But it's early October. It's like, I think, the second week of October. And
Oh, how
it's a
many
beautiful,
spots? How many spots are available?
I think we got up to 120,
120.
but yeah, that's where we'll close the door. So if you want to get in, get in. And I think there's an early bird special Jennifer put up on the seminar for people who register early and pay in advance. But we'll close the door then, because I think that's a manageable group size where we can break it up and share and really be able to connect. And so, but I'm going to do this. I think I might do this every 2 or 3 months because I think it's going to be so much fun
Oh, you'll
that
be
I,
doing like once a month, like this?
oh no, maybe 4 or 5 times a year or something like that.
Oh, that's good. That's amazing.
Yeah, and so I get to come to all of them and get to experience more and more. And
Yeah.
as long as it's really, and then I'm looking forward to other teachers taking it and teaching it eventually.
Mhm.
But it's so easy to do because this is the easiest class I've ever taught,
Yeah.
because everybody's having their own experiences. I mean, there's a lot of subjects I'm going to cover, but it's a fraction of what I normally teach,
Yes.
because it's just about their own experience, not me giving you lots of words. But I have a lot of exercises and things we're going to go to, but they're very easy.
Yeah. There are no words to describe the experiences, right? So, I'd like to tell you something, Richard. When I was reading Hawking the Law of Attraction,
Yeah.
I was reading that, when you put like a poem describing what it is
Yeah.
about, I was, oh my God, Rich is really extremely inspired. I could feel these words, and I could feel information from these words coming, something consistent. It's not just a poem, it's not something. He knows what he's talking about. He discovered something new. So it is like the words have energy. I could feel that. So I read the book, very excited. I could feel the excitement in the book. I'm very curious to know how this next book is going to be.
Well, it's going to also be inspired. It's going to be written very easily. By the way, I probably spent 20 hours on that poem, maybe more, because what I did was I wrote down every one of the major thoughts that I had. And I didn't think I was writing a poem. I just thought these are all the key points. I want to put them down as concisely as possible. And then as I started doing it, it turned into like this almost poem kind of thing. And I kept tweaking it and turning it and moving it ever so slightly. So maybe 30, 40 hours, whatever I spent on it was like many, many hours just to get every word concise. And you could feel the energy in it. And that was total inspiration. But now we're taking it, if that was elementary school, we're in college now. We're going way beyond where we were before.
So,
and this is going to change lives more profoundly than I ever imagined I would have this impact. And I'm hoping to create a whole movement around it where people realize they can just be grateful and happy, because this is really the happy seminar. Maybe it's called Becoming More, but it's about joy and happiness and fulfilling your chosen destiny.
Yes. Yes. And let's do this, Richard, if you have availability. I invite you to, after this workshop, you come here, you can bring someone else, some people, and share this experience here, and invite people for the other workshops. Let's do that. What do you think? So after this workshop, you can share this experience,
what we'll do is we'll get 3 or 4 or 5 people from the workshop to join the call, and we'll have a great time.
Yeah, that's what I'm proposing. Not traveling. Now we have this technology that helps a lot. And then the other advantage of this is that there will be on the YouTube channel, and whatever the person is in the world can see that afterwards, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so thank you so very much, Richard. It's
been a real joy to share this with you and to be able to communicate all the kinds of things that I'm going through now. And it's going to be fun.
Yes, I'm very curious to know how this event, it will be a big event, like
we might only have 20 people. We might have 120, but it's going to be perfect regardless of what it is, because everybody there is going to be having that intention, and we're all going to be changed from it.
Yes, what I mean with big event is not fireworks. It is something very profound. In this sense, there will be a big event. If there are 50 people, 100 people, there will be a big event.
Whatever it is, it's going to make the biggest shift in people's lives I've ever imagined. And it's only going to get better after the thing's over, because you're going to keep letting it in for weeks, months, and years after the seminar is over.
Yeah. All right. Perfect.
We know how to do it now. We know the technology to doing it.
Yeah. All right. Perfect. Thank you very much, Richard. I'm looking forward to having another chat with you.
I look forward to it as well. We'll definitely do that.